So it's been like 2 years since I did the last Ichigo All Forms video, and well, I did say I would do it, and better late than never, I guess, right? So yeah, let's get into that because there was a lot of spelling mistakes, the audio was pretty bad, and I did say I'd revisit it because there was going to be a lot more. So I guess let's jump into it, shall we? But before we jump into this Ichigo All Forms video, I do just want to say this video was proudly brought to you guys by the awesome folks at Black Desert Online. Black Desert Online is a JRPG-esque MMORPG style game with amazing graphics, as you can see on the screen right now, fluid world design, combat with combos that are so diverse. It kind of reminds me of Tekken. And it's a mobile movement that has that kind of Final Fantasy 15 feel, if you know what I mean. It's also got some of the best character creation I've seen in any game. There is like 16 diverse classes to choose from, each having unique skills and abilities. Also to add, the game never gets stale. It's patched all the time, and even the smaller things added tend to make the game feel fresh. So to everyone who signs up thanks to this video, you'll receive a 7-day free trial to test out the game yourself. So if you don't like it, you don't like it, but if you do, then, you know, you can thank me later. It's cool, whatever. It's linked at the top of the description, so please go check out Black Desert Online for supporting the channel, supporting the video, and hopefully something you guys can sink your teeth into. Let's start with Kid Ichigo. From the beginning, giving us a polar opposite to Ichigo's later teenage self and personality that we're all accustomed to, Kid Ichigo is a typical loving life kind of kid, which is understandable due to the growing up with a loving family, and being the oldest sets himself to be an example for his younger sisters Karin and Yuzu. This leads him to train martial arts at a young age. The light of his life, his mother, would always come and put a smile on his face, as seen from when she would pick him up from practice, erasing all negative emotion. He can see ghosts, but is unaware to tell the difference because of his trait to protect. He will also go out of his way to protect others when need be, and because of this unfortunate trait, it ended up giving Ichigo PTSD of killing his own mother, to which later found out he didn't. But as a kid, this shows us a massive shift on what is to come later on. 12-year-old Ichigo. He's literally shown for one panel, but for the meme, I'll add him in. We don't see much of him, but it seems to be before the Kurosaki Clinic was even open. He seems to be very brave and bold, going by the facial expressions, and doesn't seem to be overly shocked by a distressed Orihime, most likely developing into his stern character later on. Middle school Ichigo. At this point in Ichigo's life, he was constantly in fights because of being bullied due to his hair colour. Little information, you can be bullied in real life Japanese society for generally not having black hair because it's, I guess, normal. Ichigo would occasionally fight thugs, and because of this, he met Chad, where both of them crossed paths and ended up helping each other out. High school Ichigo. This later reoccurred with Keigo and Mizuru fighting thugs, but I feel like Ichigo had more meaning besides just protecting someone. It seemed like an instinctual thing to do, especially within the school scene anyway. We get to see his stronger values to protect, and his spiritual awareness blossom from when he was a kid, as on a daily basis sees ghosts, and even helps lost souls try and move on, even if it means giving flowers of mourning or beating up those who try and interrupt the peace around them. Substitute Shinigami Ichigo with Rukia's powers. During a hollow attack, after sensing Ichigo's slowing, growing spiritual pressure, Ichigo finally is given the power to protect himself and his family with this Shinigami power bestowed upon him by Rukia. Now bear in mind, this is bare bones and merely a vessel for Ichigo to defend himself with a weapon that would work, but this helps demonstrate Ichigo's latent power through the size of his Zanpakuto. Ghost Ichigo. This is where Ichigo is learning to survive without the chain connected to his material body, proving at first how difficult it was for him to even breathe. But due to his spiritual energy, he quickly adapted and wasn't reliant on his body, like a new entity. It was like he had to learn how to breathe, allowing him to be in a spiritual form freely and naturally. But if you've read the story, we kind of already knew this. Awakening Mask Ichigo. Even though there's not much to go on with this form, I wanted to add it because of how Kubo foreshadows. When Kisuke put Ichigo in a state to awaken his own Shinigami powers, it brought out the hollow mask and Shinigami robes. I'll go into this more foreshadowing into a video, but it was a nice touch to show us Ichigo's true identity very early on in the series. Fake Shikai Ichigo. So finally we start getting into something a little bit more interesting. After Ichigo learns how to call out his Zangetsu through being pressured by Urahara, his Shikai is huge, most likely due to the uncontrollable flow of Reishi and the fact that his sword would seem like it absorbs and condenses Ichigo's Ryatsu. The cloth on the handle can expand and shrink to Ichigo's will for sheathing his sword, bandaging himself up and using it to swing his sword for mid-range attacks. Fake Bankai Ichigo. Upon learning how to release Bankai literally within 2 days of intense training, Ichigo was able to perform this form, which is a lot more streamlined for his style of fighting and given a speed increase. In this form, Ichigo can go at lightning fast speeds, which leave after images and reflecting literally a million blades from Byakuya with ease. Through this speed and power being multiplied by 10, he also gets another cool ability, allowing him to calculate how much Reishi he has left through his Shihakusho. Unohana stated with one arm piece was the level of a captain class after his fight with Ulquiorra. The first mask appearance Ichigo. During the fight against Byakuya, we see that awesome mask we saw back when he was training with Urahara. That was a separate entity's Ichigo's pain and fatigue were being pushed way far behind its limits. Or was it the possibility that Hollow Ichigo had incorporated a little bit of regeneration? But throughout this takeover, Ichigo seems to have learnt a new technique, being the Black Getuga Tensho. Pure Hollowified Ichigo. This resembles what it says on the tin, a pure hollow. As you may have noticed, this evolves later on into the series. There's not much to go on with this form besides the typical incentive hollow traits like animalistic rampage, Zero attacks and high speed regeneration. This is before Ichigo and White had pretty much cooperated. Remember how hollows evolved to reach a level of Vaste Lorde? Well, this is kind of the same trait. At this point in the story, Hollow Ichigo hadn't even evolved to look like his later appearance because he was still like a lesser hollow, so to say, in comparison to going into Vaste Lorde. You can follow the evolutionary stage through the hollow mask markings, which I'll go more into another video. Now, of course, we get to my favourite one, being my favourite character of the entire series, being White, or Hollow Ichigo. Hollow Ichigo, or Hichigo, or White, there is many different names for him, so I included all that because he is technically the white form of Ichigo, and he is a form of Ichigo, I guess, in a sense. So, as you can see, he has the personality and movement of Ichigo's true fighting instinct. No fear, pain, or sympathetic emotion, so to say, and can be seen as the polar opposite of Ichigo's personality, using a cocky version of an Ichigo when we go into a resolve state. He is, again, as I said, my favourite character. He's just badass. I love the guy. He's fucking awesome. Especially that quote about the king and his horse. The guy is poetic. Beautiful. Controlled Hollow Mask Ichigo. After obtaining cooperation with his Zanpakuto, Ichigo was able to release his Hollow Mask until a certain amount of time, until he started getting increasingly stronger. This can be shown again with the increased thickness and number of the markings on his mask. And this might have been because Ichigo had accepted his killing instinct to fight, which was proven as he stretched out the fight due to enjoying himself too much, that even Orihime had to tell him not to die. In this form, Ichigo's power increases, not known by how much though, as it keeps evolving. Vaste Lorde Ichigo. As Hollow Ichigo stated, if Ichigo would fall in battle, he would take control as the king, hence the king in his horse speech. He said he refuses to allow anyone weaker than him to be the king. Because of this, Ichigo's death allowed White to emerge. I say White at this point because Hollow Ichigo now resembles that of a Hollow in which attacked Masaki back in that past arc in the Thousand Year Blood War arc. Go read it, it's fucking amazing. If you don't know who Masaki is, that's Ichigo's mother. Come on, you've read the series. Though through Ichigo's development in power, the Hollow that we witness has now evolved into a Vaste Lorde state, tapping into Ichigo's true potential, showing what really he has been holding back this entire time. We can evidently say this by the break in the Soul Reaper badge, which had been resisting Ichigo's true ability. We can also back that up by Kubo's little doodles in his volumes during this time, showing the Soul Reaper badge cracking. In this form, we can see the Zero get implemented and the Sonido, which is the hollow version of Shumpo. The unstable Mask Ichigo. Right after his fight with Ulquiorra, Ichigo, as we just spoke about, underwent a huge transformation, evolving Ichigo's Ryatsu. I added this form in due to it being a big development with Ichigo's mask. Though there's not much to talk about, I added that it was quoted to be heavy, and Ichigo was unable to call forth his mask at this point. This could be due to the uncontrollable amount of power that he had not been used to controlling at this point, and only having one sleeve of Ryatsu left. We can assume that, as it was more usable once Unohana was able to restore his energy while running through the Garganta. Dangai Ichigo. In this form, Ichigo has gotten taller and his hair has grown out. By the way, this is important as to why. You see, Ichigo has trained in the Dangai for a big 3 months. Aizen had believed that Ichigo had turned all his spiritual energy into pure strength during not being able to sense his Ryatsu. But unfortunately for Aizen, Ichigo had ascended past Aizen so much to the point that he was in another dimensional playing field, where he was basically unreadable. In this form, Ichigo was able to level mountains with a non-contactual swing of his sword, grab Aizen's sword, block multiple city-level Seros from Aizen, and move at speeds of which Aizen couldn't keep track of. He was also able to react to Aizen's teleportation or instant travel. Also, it is important to note that in this form, Ichigo's sword has merged with Ichigo's hand, becoming one with its user. It can be suggested that when this happens is pretty much when you become a transcendent being. Mugetsu Ichigo. Now, I understand that this is a move and not really a form, but this move needed a new look. In the 1000-year Blood War arc, Namaya Uetsu stated that Ichigo had fought all of his battles without an Asuchi, or a Zanpakuto for the normies out there. It would be heavily implied that with Ichigo's ability to gauge his power through his clothing, like his arm with an Ahana, it's plausible to believe the fact that in its Mugetsu his sword turns into pure Ryatsu, as he pretty much created a sword out of his own energy. So when I say it needed a new look, I'm suggesting that Ichigo is letting his Reishi run wild while in this form. It's an uncontrollable force waiting to be released, so why would it be in sword form? Skull-clad Ichigo. Because this is a fan favourite, people really wanted me to talk about this form in Bleach. This was from Movie 4's The Hellverse. Though it's not canon to the storyline, it was an impressive feat to have. The form was given to Ichigo Kurosaki by the Kushinada. The Kushinada can pull its Ryatsu into those that deems worthy, dissolving into a yellow light, which immerses into the person. This gives them a form clad in a skull-like armor. This form allows the user to achieve feats that would be deemed impossible in hell, such as severing chains of people bound to hell or binding enemies in chains and then sending them to a lower level of hell to atone for their sins. The user of this form and the allies associated with them are considered friendly to the Kushinada, while the armor is active. So don't turn it off, because you'll be fucked. White Robe Ichigo. This again is filler from one of the filler arcs. This makes kinda no sense. It is a filler after all, but Ichigo in this form has no Ryatsu and has the ability to freely roam around in the Dangai. But how can he achieve that form without spiritual energy? Seems a bit shady, but yeah, I mentioned it because some smart person would comment it. 17-year-old Ichigo. As we enter into the time skip, all Ichigo gains here is height, sideburns, and sharper facial design. Though there is not much to go on in this form because there is more of a mental development than a physical one, which had no spiritual presence whatsoever. The Fullbringer Stage 1 is what I'm going to call it. We see that the spirit energy within the Soul Reaper badge that was limiting Ichigo past the Soul Society arc was able to be used by Ichigo as a tool to fight and could arguably be shown as training for it to get a final understanding on how to control his own spiritual energy and to grow as a fighter and to see him progress for the first time on his own. Fullbring Stage 2. As his training continues, we see more of his Shinigami powers arise, showing and resembling the Shihakusho Soul Reaper uniform, which is very rough due to Ichigo's incomplete control of energy. Fullbringer Stage 3. It seems to have a basic limit to what humans can achieve with a physical body, showing the white represent his hollow side and the black represent his Shinigami side. The Fullbring Shikai and Bankai. This is kind of self-explanatory. Ichigo's Fullbring Shikai and Bankai is pretty much the same as his previous ones. It's just a little bit more powerful due to his understanding and control of his own Ryatsu. True Shikai Zanpakuto, the dual sword Ichigo. After losing his Fullbring Zanpakuto to Yhwach or Yhwach, we had learned that Ichigo never had his true sword. Remember that quote that I said from Namaya Uetsu? He was finally able to forge his own sword through his own Asuchi, enabling him to use two spiritual entities inside him, being white and the good guy Yhwach or Yhwach. Take it or leave it with the names. Due to this, Ichigo has displayed overwhelming power. For example, his fight with Candice, using Quincy and Hollow Shinigami Getsugas, so powerful that Ichigo only intended to give her a warning shot rather than a deadly blow, not to mention all four girls attacking him and brushing off their attacks like it was nothing. It was really just there to showcase the reader just what it meant for Ichigo to have an uncapped Shikai in this form. Yhwach, or Yhwach, claims that he has gained the power that he once used on Aizen, being the Mugetsu, and this is backed up with Ryatsu so powerful that it was visible and uncontrollable to Ichigo. Hollow-horned Ichigo, or as some people know it as the Horn of Salvation. So you thought that was all to do with Ichigo's Shikai? No. There's even more to it. Ichigo can kick up his Shikai up a notch by awakening his hollow side, giving him a red stripe, black eye, and a horn, being the Horn of Salvation. Remember the mask Ichigo used to wear? Well, it seems to be a part of him now. Rather than being an outside energy, it seems to be more of an internal energy now. This is what it means for Ichigo to state he will only fight with his own power because it is also their power. In this state, Ichigo can shoot Zeros or even better than a Gran Ray Zero, merging it with a Getsuga Tensho. The true Bankai Ichigo. The amazing transformation that nobody had a clue what it does. And 2 years after the manga ended, we still don't. This is mainly because Yhwach or Yhwach saw it as a huge threat. Something so powerful that Yhwach or Yhwach had to break in every very instant. I wish I could say more, but we did see it fire a Getsuga, I guess. That's pretty cool. And we know that the white part on the sword is a protected shield for the actual black part of the sword. Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe it's symbolic, but maybe we can do a video about it in the future. I don't know. Maybe when that anime comes back, it might explain more. I don't know. It is what it is, and we just know that it's really powerful. So, unfortunately, it would be cool to power scale Ichigo, but we really can't, I guess. That's a shame. And to finalize all this off, adult Ichigo, it all comes down to this one. Ichigo is an adult, where he smashed Orihime and popped out a Kazui. Is Ichigo able to transform into the Shinigami? Yeah, of course. I mean, look at volume 74. It's quite obviously possible that he can. Just maybe not in the living world. Remember when Shunsui was talking about making Ichigo the Soul King, or he was talking about his immense spiritual pressure? He gave soul tickets to those who wished to meet him, like, Tatsuki, Mizuru, Keigo. Now, I highly doubt his spiritual energy affects the living world if Ichigo isn't in spirit form, but you must remember that this is plausible due to captains have to have limiters when they visited, and Aizen was so powerful, he disintegrated humans at certain radiuses. And, well, Ichigo is, well, let's just say a lot more powerful than that. So with the journey over, Ichigo got what he wanted, the power to protect, but he's also happy, has a normal life that he pretty much longed for. And in the light novels of Can't Fear Your Own World, we find out that pretty much that Ichigo is he's an English teacher, he's an English literature teacher. So there you go. If you want a little bit more insight, you'd think that he'd be a doctor, but no, because Uryu is and Kuba didn't want to confuse the two. And yes, the Kurosaki Clinic is still run by Ishin. Anyway, enough rambling going on. There you go. These are all forms of Ichigo Kurosaki for the present time. There may be even a third update video if we get that anime back and we have some more light novels or little bits of tad information. But I am going to leave it off with that, guys. Of course, tell me in the comment section down below if you like this or want to give more information. Of course, click the like and subscribe. Check out the merch as always and check out our sponsor for the video. But of course, with that being said, I'm going to catch you motherfuckers later. You guys, of course, have this fine day being enhanced. And as always, people, peace out.
I'm shocking and it's dinner time. Yeah. Can you really feel the vibe? Yeah. Don't care for you, I'm winning mine. Yeah. Fuck around and hit 'em like, yeah. I'm shocking and it's dinner time. Yeah. Can you really feel the vibe? Yeah. Don't care for you, I'm winning mine. Yeah. I've been feeling lowless from the high now. Used to be a pawn, now royalty says hi now. Damn. How the fuck I get so fly, boy? Working, never stop, that ain't a lie, boy.